Welcome to the Pesky Report, a podcast for Red Sox fans.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Pesky Report. We are smack dab in the middle of what appears to be a 24-hour sprint to the finish line of the trade deadline, with the Red Sox making a bunch of trades within, how much was that? Like a half hour of each other? I think 3 trades went down, some more interesting than others. I'm Ed Hand, here with, as always, with my sweet, sweet son, the Iowa Enigma Hogdale.
Hello.
And we're also joined by Ben Wilson of Prospects1500, and actually a former, I guess, coworker. We didn't really get paid, so I don't know if we can call it coworker or not. But Ben, actually, we were signed, recruited, hired by Sox prospects at about the same time to do the same job, which is just like, initially it was just game tweets, and we would alternate every other day. And then the pandemic hit, so we kind of stopped doing that because there was no baseball. And then Ben got another gig somewhere else, and the other guy we were with, this dude Gabriel, isn't there anymore. So I'm all that's left from the olden days of 2020. How are you doing today, Ben? Oh, you're still muted. Hang on, let me unmute you. Okay,
hey, it's great to be on. Hey, you'd think, with multiple years of COVID Zooming, we'd have to unmute, but I started out that way. It's great to be on, and thank you so much for having me. And yeah, really enjoyed our time together, Ed, and think the world of Sox prospects, and it's an incredible site, and the coverage there is top notch. So yeah, just incredibly excited to be talking about really a changing organization, right before our eyes, just like what you started with here at the trade deadline. 24 hours to go, and a few trades made just before we hopped on, and a lot of really interesting stuff to dive into.
Yeah. Before we do that, I'm just curious, what's your background? Because I actually don't know this. Do you have like a journalism background or like sports management? Like, where do you come from with this stuff?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong baseball fan, and I work in education. And I really started to get into the writing side of things when I was in graduate school at UMass Amherst, and really. As a lifelong Red Sox fan and fantasy baseball player, I've always been really drawn to just every level of baseball, and really a move to upstate New York really, I think, focused me so much on the minor league side of things, because there's great baseball up in this area, Syracuse and Auburn, which is no longer in the New York Penn League, and Binghamton, all those kind of areas up here. And, I think blending that kind of, environment for minor league baseball with my lifelong love for the Red Sox, growing up in Massachusetts and New England, has just been, just a really fun hobby. And, and like you said, Ed, we work together at Sox Prospects. And during that time, I also I've been with Prospects1500, an amazing site, working with Scott Green for 4+ years, and I'm doing assistant editing responsibilities, getting a lot of different articles ready for publish. And I've also had the privilege of writing at Fantrax HQ and Roto Fanatic as well. So it's been a really fun ride. Gets great opportunities like talking to you guys.
And we're real happy to have you here, especially with a day like this, where the Red Sox have picked up a couple of prospects, and that was really the first domino to fall today. It was Christian Vazquez was traded for 2 guys that because my first thing that I always do is I check like the MLB pipeline, and then I remember, oh yeah, MLB pipeline doesn't really edit itself that much, so you don't really see those get updated, and it ends up being a little bit belated. So the two guys that the Red Sox picked up in that deal are currently on that site listed as number 29 and 30 in the system, but it hasn't been updated since the beginning of the year. And both players are having pretty solid years. I'm just trying to look up the that information now because I don't. I mean, I wish I had that ability to just like read something and then remember the name right away, and I don't. But yeah, the guys that they got back are gosh, what was the names again? Yeah, they're Emmanuel Valdez and Willier Abreu. Now, what do you know about those two, Ben?
Well, it's a couple things. I think a couple things that stand out. First that both the hitters that are acquired here in Valdez, by most rankings is the higher ranking prospect. In our midseason update at Prospects 1500, our Astros correspondent was pretty aggressive on Valdez, ranking him in tier 2, and as the number 2 prospect in the system. A tier 2 by our site's rating is a prospect with an above average expectation of making the majors and being a solid contributor. So I think with our Astros correspondent Greg Bracken, definitely high on Valdez, and there's definitely some pretty good power and defensive versatility. So both both on the infield, Valdez can play second base, third base, and both corner outfield spots. And I think especially being in the high minors at AA and AAA, he's right on the doorstep of being a possible contributor. And similar with Wilyer Abreu, Greg has him as in tier 4, which is an 11th overall in the Astros system. Tier 4, potential of making the majors, providing a minimal impact, possibly a utility type of profile. But I think for me, Abreu, can play all 3 outfield positions. The calling card there is the power. So I think, just kind of looking at the system overall for the Red Sox, I think outfield and outfield depth, is definitely an area of focus. And both of these guys could potentially be, in that mix in relatively short order. So I think another piece here is, both those guys are Rule 5 eligible. There's also a pretty sizable, I had tweeted out a few days ago, pretty sizable list of some really interesting names actually coming up for some Rule 5 decisions. So I have to say this is only going to make some of the decisions even more complicated.
Yeah, especially when you look at the list that the Red Sox have, which you can actually find on Sox Prospects. It's just a tremendous amount of people that you're going to see. And that was why I thought the buying and selling makes a lot of sense to me for the Red Sox right now, just because there are so many guys that are going to be exposed to that draft. And they're not all, you lose them. It's pretty much for free. But when you talk about that tier 2 and that tier 4, who's like a comparable player like tier 2? Who would that be like? And then tier 4, who would that be like? And somebody that people might just for reference. This is a Red Sox podcast, so somebody within the Red Sox organization doesn't have to be a current player either.
Sure. So yeah, the tier 2s are really going to be in the Brandon Walter range. Let me pull up.
Yeah, so Walter is a pitcher that is at AAA right now. He was the one that had that ridiculous slider that I think had 40 strikeouts and no walks at one point in the season. Just a solid starting pitching prospect. But I'm always kind of curious. We can also, I'm just going to read off some of the stats right now for these guys. Abreu at AA right now is slashing 249, 399 on base percentage, 459 slugging percentage. He's got 24 doubles, 15 homers, and 23 stolen bases. That's at AA. But when you look at the Red Sox system right now and who they have for, as far as outfield prospects go, it's Cedar Rafaela, it's Miguel Blaze, and then it's kind of just a real fall from grace from there. There really isn't that much outfield depth, especially at that AA level. So getting someone there is really nice. And then you look at Valdez, his offense is pretty ridiculous this year. Between AA and AAA, he's got 327, batting average 410, on base percentage 606, slugging percentage. That's 26 doubles and 21 homers. That's half a season. Now, he doesn't, from what I've heard at least, I know you were saying, Ben, that he had some versatility there. I've heard that he doesn't really have a defensive home yet. I've seen second base, third base, maybe a little bit of outfield. But, you're hitting like that, they'll find a place for you, even if it's DH. But those are the two guys statistically who they've got.
Yeah, and you nailed it, Ed. And I saw you had tweeted out the list of your own top 10 outfield prospects, and I felt very similarly. You have those really those top two, and in Rafael and Blaze, and then those guys will definitely slot right in. I would say 3 and 4. So that's a great place to be. In terms of adding to I think a real key area. Especially as you think about possibly Kike Hernandez, a looming decision there. Jackie Bradley. So there's definitely some, ultimately the future of Jarren Duran. So there's definitely some holes to fill in the outfield, I think, coming up. So these are some guys that could potentially fit there.
So I got to ask Hogdale something. Hogdale, who is not as knee-deep in the prospect weeds as Ben and I are. What is your reaction to this Vasquez trade, just off of reaction to it?
Well, it's nice that, obviously Heim only trades for future Hall of Famers. So it's a good deal that we get two Hall of Famers to add into the lineup eventually. So that'll be pretty cool. But it's just a bummer to see Vasquez go. This is a guy who's stated very clearly he's wanted to be a Red Sox lifer for years now. And you just saw the reaction to him getting traded, and it's just crushing. Like, the dude wanted to be here. Dudes in the locker room love him. Like, it's completely understandable they traded him. Give some of the younger guys a chance. Maybe when Connor Wong stops being injured, get a peek at Ronaldo Hernandez. So it's a bit of a bummer, but the prospects sound intriguing, and this modified buy-sell, I'm looking forward to see how it continues to shape out. Like, I wonder what they can get for JD or Eovaldi now, because they got a pretty decent return here for Vasquez.
Yeah, I would consider 2 months rental on a veteran pretty good. Now, are now joined by our handsome leader, Brad Chandler, just joined us. Brad, what's your reaction to the Vasquez trade?
We saw it coming. Everybody, if you didn't see it coming, I don't know what to tell you. He's been literally our best catcher, our best first baseman. We were going to get something. We were going to trade him. What it was, we thought he was going to the Mets. I didn't hear anything about the Astros until today. And now, him getting traded to the team that, we're facing is just, it's got to be a little awkward, It brings me back to the Stephen Drew days. Back, I think it was 2014. He got traded to the Yankees while the Red Sox were playing the Yankees. All he had to do was pack his bags and walk across the field. But watching Vasquez, his reaction, those glossy eyes, he was emotional. Even though he said that, it's a business and he knew, this, that, and the other thing. He's emotional. He said that he wanted to be a Red Sox for the rest of his entire career. Now, he is a free agent at the end of the season, and there's a chance. How big that is, nobody knows, there's a chance he could come back.
Yeah.
But I mean, McGuire's also like he's under control for what, like the next 3 years.
Yeah.
And we know he can handle wood, specifically his own. So, I mean, like we're heavy hitter coming in.
It's about to be 45 minutes of these jokes, isn't it?
He's definitely a puller.
That's the second trade.
I do have to say one thing though about the Reese McGuire thing. I did not ever think that Reese McGuire was going to end up on this team. For like the past 2 years, all I've been doing is making jokes about how he got caught jerking off at a parking lot, and then now he's a member of the Boston Red Sox. So, and then we have Tommy Pham, who's also slap happy.
It's definitely makes for good merchandising. Honestly, I feel like you can do a lot for that. Especially, it's too bad one of them isn't actually like a slap hitter, because that would just make it. That's like a holy trifecta there.
I do want to say one thing. Like you mentioned Cedar Rafaela. I just found out the other day that we share a birthday, and I'm super happy about that. I watched him the other night in Hartford. He was playing shortstop. You said, you mentioned something about outfield. I know he plays multiple positions, but I've said this on the last episode that we had. Watching him reminds me of Betts.
Yeah, there's that physical resemblance. There's that hard swing. They're different players, but the defense, that's one thing that they both really have in spades, is that really advanced defense. What's your scouting report on Cedar Rafaela, Ben? I know that that was one of the questions that we had, one of the fan questions. What's your scouting report for him? Is he the real deal?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just, one of the things I think at the top of the system, that really stands out is, I mean, you have the real bat first players, right? I mean, Tristan Casas right at the top. I mean, Marcelo Mayer really has it all. And then I think, with Nick York, Blaze Jordan, all those guys I think are really the bat first profile. And I think Cedar Rafaela is, I think he really brings like the high level of athleticism, the defensive versatility, and that piece, to the top of the system. So, I mean, I think the breakout is really exciting, and the power is really just, I think, going to be dictated, by how much he can really get to his hit tool, at the highest level. And I think that he is really growing in terms of his swing decisions. But he's really, I think really the whole package, potentially in terms of tools, which, he's one of the really, I think, guys at the top of the system that brings all of those pieces. So, for me, I think Rafaela definitely has to be a big part of their plans. And he's going to be up the middle somewhere. And, he can make an impact. And his defense is going to keep him on the field. It's going to help him, give multiple chances for the bat to play.
Yeah. And, the more at bats you get, the more you can stay in the game, the better at hitting you're going to get. I mean, I look at guys like Christian Vazquez, like Jose Iglesias, guys who really, their carrying tool was their defense, and that kept them in the lineup. And the more practice they got, and they already have these like absolutely ridiculous reflexes. I mean, that's the thing with Rafaela that's crazy to me. I've heard about the way that he does batting practice. Like most guys, it's like a home run derby. For him, they start throwing stuff outside to him, and the whole goal is for him not to swing, because his hand-eye coordination is so good that he'll make contact with balls that are a foot outside that he has no right to be swinging at. And he'll just, it's bad contact, but he's still making contact with it. And that's sort of what he has to learn, because he really is one of these guys that's just an athletic freak. And if he can just get a little bit more with that hit tool, just a little more steady contact, a better approach, I mean, he's gonna be a really interesting player 2-3 years from now. So
well, and you look at the opposite side of the coin, Jaron Duran, with the struggles in the outfield, and there's very few players that can impact the game like he can with his speed, and the performance in the outfield is really, I think, impacting that. So Rafael is going to get that chance.
yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he's going to become. So that was the first trade was the Vasquez one. That was definitely the biggest one. But there are two more. Now, which one? Hogdale, which one do you want to talk about first?
Definitely want to talk about the salami skinner first. Get that one out of the way.
Well, why don't you tell us about that one? Why don't you tell us what this legendary man that you're talking about, that we've been talking about in and out throughout this whole thing
so the trade is the Red Sox send Jake Diekman to, I believe, the Chicago White Sox for Reese McGuire, who on one of my first episodes on the Pesky Report, me and Brad had an entire segment talking about how this dude got caught jacking off in his car at a Dollar Tree. So, of course, he ends up becoming a fucking Boston Red Sox.
With that, though? Have you ever been to a Dollar Tree? Everything's $1. What's he supposed to do? Not celebrate? Like, that's... Who hasn't been there? I'm sorry. Who hasn't been there?
Oh, my God. But, yeah, I mean, banter aside, this is a good trade. I mean, you get Diekman's contract out of here, get that money off the books. You bring in some catching depth. I mean, this is no really a real reason to get too upset about this trade. I mean, it's just a win. It's just a minor win for the Red Sox.
Yeah. I mean, dropping that Diekman contract, it's really interesting for me when you look at when they brought him in, and that they really only made two like true bullpen moves this offseason as far as major league deals go. It was Diekman and it was Strahm. And Strahm has certainly been the more consistent of the two. There have been flashes with Diekman. I remember that game against the Yankees. It was like the third game of the year where he looked unhittable for one inning. But just the amount of walks, like, I think I've told you this before, that every time Diekman goes into pitch, that's when I take my dog for a walk, because I know when I get back, not a lot's going to have happened. Potentially filthy stuff, but I think that when you look at also the depth of lefties they have, there's Strahm, as we mentioned. I think Big Fudge Davis really has stepped up this year. I think that people thought he was going to be more of like your third guy, and that he'd be DFA'd, but he's been like a pretty valuable piece of this bullpen. So you have those two, and then you have Josh Taylor and Darwinson Hernandez kind of waiting in the wings to either come back from their rehab or to just get a full opportunity again. It's a lot of lefties, so I think that Diekman, if they could have dealt him, was the guy to trade. And I think getting a catcher back that does have some big league experience and some control is good. I know they also got either cash or a player to be named later in it, which is really nice. And I've got a question for you after this, Ben, but I'm just curious your opinion on that trade.
Yeah, I think just on the Diekman side, signing him to 2 years made all the difference in this deal, because this isn't a pure rental for the White Sox in a return. So, Diekman definitely does have the swing and miss stuff, and it can definitely be a roller coaster. So, I mean, for sure. But I think he definitely adds value. I think pairing him, with like the White Sox have Kendall Graveman, as a setup man too. To set up Liam Hendricks. So they've built, a pretty intense bullpen. They had Craig Kimbrell, old friend, for a hot minute there too. So, they like their fireballing wild stallions with the best of them. So, but, again, I think, Diekman, the feature there is the contract. It's not just a pure rental. And I think with McGuire, this is, I think, definitely a defensive first catcher. And I think, I don't want to overstate too much that this is a Rays copy situation, but, you see the Tampa Bay Rays really prioritize defensive catchers, pretty significantly. I mean, they carry, Mike Zunino is one of the best defensive catchers in the game. hits below 200 every year, with some pretty substantial power. So, that's a concession that, that the team is willing to make. And, there's plenty of catching decisions to really figure out here. I think between seeing what you have in Connor Wong and Ronaldo Hernandez, those are, two of the guys on the 40, and then along with Kevin Plawecki. And then I think too, it can really help, I think, move some of the other guys who are Steven Scott and Cole Cottom. Both have pending Rule 5 decisions themselves. So, I think that they, can use this as an opportunity, I think, figure out the position, really see what they have over the next few months.
Yeah, that actually was going to lead to my next question for you. Because when you look at the depth of catching right now, you've got a few guys that profile, I think, as decent backup catchers, but none of them really profile as like a number one. And I think that actually goes for McGuire as well. I think that you look at Ronaldo Hernandez, great arm, decent hitter. The Sox prospects, I love their description of him, which is that he would be the single catcher that would benefit most from robo-umps. Just can't really frame, not the best defensive. And then you have Wong, who I don't know what they're going to do with this. I would love to see Wong get like a real tryout here, just to see what they've got. If he's a number 2 catcher, so be it. But he's hit, he's hit at AAA this year reasonably well. Not as well as Hernandez, but the defense is an upgrade over Hernandez. And then, as you mentioned, there's Cottom, there's Steven Scott, there's Eli Marrero. There are some interesting catchers. And I mean, Marrero's more of a defensive guy, but there are some interesting catchers that are going to be Rule 5 eligible. So I guess my question for you is, of those guys that I mentioned, who do you think is on the opening day roster next year of those guys?
I think it's Connor Wong. And I think it's for a couple reasons. He's on the 40, and he's the guy that they've consistently gone to. And, when a need arises at the big league level already. So I think that there is, from every indication, I think the pitching staff feels comfortable with him behind the plate. And that definitely matters, especially with a more veteran pitching staff. And I think that, that seems to be, the direction of the organization. And I also think Connor Wong has made some nice adjustments to offensively, shortening the swing, trying to limit some of the strikeouts. And he definitely has some pop. So I think that, for me, it's Connor Wong. And, Ronaldo Hernandez, offensively, he definitely has it. And, there's definitely some growth behind the plate to come. But, yeah, I think Connor Wong is that guy.
Yeah, the thing that's always not always impressed, but the thing that, because I'm at a decent amount of AAA games, Ronaldo Hernandez has an absolute rifle for a throwing arm. Like, I've seen him pick guys off at third, like, he just throws it so quickly, like they don't even have time to react. He has such a quick delivery. But Wong's got a pretty good arm too, actually. And it seems like he calls a pretty good game. It seems like Eovaldi's comfortable with him. All these big leaguers who've been around for a while are very comfortable with him. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do as far as like who's on the 40 man. And it also kind of makes me wonder, is there even really a place for Plawecki at this point? If they're bringing in McGuire, do you think that maybe Plawecki is going to be DFA'd here?
I mean, I definitely think that could be the case. I've been calling for Kevin Plawecki to be replaced by one of the younger catchers for a while now, because he's just a non-option, like defensively behind the plate. Like teams are just going to run buck wild on you every single game that he's there. So I definitely would call for him to be DFA'd, and I definitely agree next year for that Connor Wong's most likely to stick around. At least to me, every time I've seen him, like in his cups of coffee at the big league level, he's always seemed like he belongs here and that he can hang. The dude can call a game, and that's what matters most for catchers. Like 80% of the catchers in this league can't hit a lick. Like if you have a catcher who can hit, like you're in the top 20% of the league.
Yeah, and he can do other stuff too. He can run a little bit. Like you don't see a lot of catchers that can pinch run. You can have him.
Plus,
do
he's
that.
the ultra utility because he can play the infield too, like other infield positions.
The only game I saw him play at second base, he made 3 errors. So I don't. Maybe I'm just bad luck for him. I don't know, but yeah, no. I mean, that was a big thing with him when they got him, though. I remember the like all of the Blake Swihart comparisons, which like your athletic catcher that can do a bunch of things. It's wild to me also, and I'm not somebody that's given up on Jeter Downs at all. But it's really interesting that Wong seems to be like everybody's kind of like, yeah, no, he's a backup catcher. He's fine. That's his floor. Whereas Downs is sort of, I know the Sox prospects guys don't really see him as much more than like maybe a utility guy at this point. But I remember when the Mookie trade first happened, Downs was the prospect that people were excited about. And, they were kind of indifferent towards Wong. Like, oh, he's a throw-in because we couldn't get Bruce Dark or Adderall. And I think that backup catchers, I think, get underlooked, but it's nice having one that can play. It really is a luxury that not a lot of teams have.
Well, I think I was just going to say, with Vasquez, I mean, catching such a high percentage of games, it's becoming really more rare, I think, to have a catcher who has the offensive skills that he does and, can catch such a high percentage of the games. And I think we may move into at least a short-term era where, maybe there's 2 catchers, there's 3 catchers, maybe they're up and down between AAA and the majors, kind of on a carousel in a sense of, who's hot, who's, what are the needs, what are the matchups at the big league level, et cetera. So, I think it could be just a little bit of a shock, I think, because I think the position is evolving in the game, having that stalwart catcher who's catching, most of the time, 80% of the time, is becoming much more rare.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And I think a lot of people really have written off Connor Wong that it's like he's guaranteed almost to be a backup catcher. I really think this guy could start, genuinely. I think he can be good enough to start. I mean, time will tell, but I think he's really good.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly a better catching prospect than I think any of us expected when he came over in that trade. I think he's done a good job at AAA, and he can do a lot of things. And I think the defense for me has been the biggest surprise, because I just remember when that initial call up he had, where I feel like it was like Eovaldi threw a shutout or like a 1-run game or something. He had a really good start with this brand new catcher who's just up for a game, and that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure for anybody to come up to that. People talk about, oh, well, he's like a 26-year-old rookie or something like that, 27-year-old rookie. But they forget Jason Varitek was 26 when he came up.
Catchers take a while.
Yeah, they take a little bit longer. And I think, I don't think that's really a knock on the guy. I think that Ronaldo Hernandez could end up being the minor still 20. He's 26, 27, and then he gets called up. But it's interesting what Ben was saying about this idea of there being kind of a rotation of catchers. How would you feel about that, Hogdale, if they had 3 guys that were kind of rotating through, like a 60-40 with another guy coming up occasionally?
I wouldn't hate it, but really that only happens if all 3 of the guys you have are mediocre. So I prefer one of them just really takes command, but if it ends up that way, I wouldn't hate it. But like I said, catchers these days, it's 80% of the value is their defense, and any offense is a cherry on top. So
I mean, you guys know who my dream free agent pickup for the Red Sox would be for catcher. Would actually be Omar Narvaez from the Brewers, left-handed hitter, all-star last year. He's had a couple of off years, a couple of good offensive years. Best framer in the league. And I think that would just be a lot of fun to be watching. So that's my guy there. There are a few interesting free agents. Obviously, Vasquez could come back. I think Zunino's a free agent, right? I know he had he had it was the theriapic outlet syndrome or something like that. The thing where they remove a chunk of your rib. I think he had that surgery, so who knows how his arm's going to be. But
yeah, he's a free agent after this season.
Yeah, so Yeah, who knows, though? It'll be interesting to see what they do with McGuire also. Before we switch to the other one, I just want to give everybody a chance to say what they think his walk-up music should be. For me, I think it should be that "I Touch Myself" song from Austin Powers. I know that. I know that it is a song from something else. Is a real song, but I only remember it from Austin Powers. So how about you, Dale?
Oh my god, that has to be his walk-up song. That'd be so goddamn funny. I'm trying to think of like some innuendo ones, but I'm having trouble coming up at the top of my head because I don't know, man. I have to think about it.
How about you, Ben?
Man, I wish I had something. It's a good one.
That's genius.
It's gonna come. It's gonna just happen. Like, well, we'll be talking, and then it's gonna pop into my head.
Yeah, it's going to be at the worst spot. I mean, to be fair, I've been sitting on that joke for probably 3 years now. So, however long it was since that report first came out. So, there was a lot of buildup for me.
Oh my god.
Third trade. Tommy Pham, player to be named later. What do you guys think? Hogdale first on this one.
Wow, really fucked up the PTBL, man. Gave up that. Heim's washed. This dude stinks. Get him out. Fire him. What a shitter. Tommy Pham's just like, at this point, like, literally the definition of an average major league outfielder, which is an improvement over what they have. So I think it's a good trade.
I was at the game where Christian Arroyo lost the ball in the lights, and I felt so bad for the guy. I thought he was trying to fake them out. Like, oh no, I can't catch it. And I was like, oh wait, no, he really did lose it.
You really can't catch it.
I've heard he's going to be playing left, and Verdugo's going to move to right, which could be interesting.
Fair enough. I mean, we originally traded Verdugo for Verdugo. We were like, oh, he's going to be our right fielder. And he's been a bit of an adventure out in the right field at times. So hopefully he could figure it out in this stint in right field, because I do like him a lot as a player. It's just, this year specifically has been a little disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, he's hit into some of the worst luck like I've seen.
Dude, he's going to benefit so much from the shift getting yeeted into oblivion.
Oh yeah, no, he's gonna. I think if he could ever figure out just how to go opposite field at will, the guy would win a batting title just for the amount of wall ball doubles he'd hit. He's got such a good swing for that. He's so good at making contact. But what's your take on this one, Ben?
Yeah, Tommy Pham is more than anything a major league outfielder. That he's gonna be. I know that's not super inspiring, but I think that the return is. I would venture that it's going to be someone who's on the 40-man bubble in like a pending decision for them that they may wind up not holding on to, that maybe Cincinnati might have some interest in. So I think that's probably the possibility on the return. But with Tommy Pham, he's a former Ray right there, and so there's little surprise there. And this is just like we've mentioned, but it's a left fielder, and they have a bunch of left fielders, so it's kind of a logjam of a situation, and we'll see what happens. But I think at least he's going to give professional at bats, and he's always been good at getting on base. That's been definitely a feature of his profile. Can do a little bit of everything. He has the power, speed. So, yeah.
Want to hear something a little bit upsetting? He's got 11 home runs this year. That's already the third most on the Red Sox.
Oh, fuck off.
It's just Story and Devers are the only guys with more homers than him. Bobby Dahlback is fourth with 10, I think. So, you're getting a little bit of power infusion there. I remember, at the beginning of the season, or not even the beginning of the season, let's go back to like December 1st or whenever the lockout started. There was the JBJ trade with Hunter Renfroe. I was positive they were going to bring in a right fielder. I did not think that there was a chance in hell that JBJ would be getting as many at bats as he's got this year. I thought, okay, Seiya Suzuki, that's your plan A. And I thought that Tommy Pham might be like your plan C. If you can't get anybody else, okay, we can bring in Pham, as both of you said, league average player. He's a major league outfielder. So this feels almost like a better late than never move to me. Is what it is. I'm looking forward to seeing some, as you said, professional at bats, but not exactly a game changer. So now, next question for both of you guys: do you think that there are more moves that are going to happen between now and the actual deadline, and if so, what? Ben, you first.
Well, the biggest name that's not Vasquez at this point is JD Martinez, and the real benchmark there is going to be the qualifying offer threshold, right? So I think Vasquez was probably the guy to be dealt, and he was dealt, and because I think that he, playing at almost $20 million for 1 year. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact qualifying offer figure, but it's a pretty significant, total. He'd probably accept that, and so then they wouldn't be able to get a pick, and so the parallel pick this year was Roman Anthony, who was the Eduardo Rodriguez, compensation. So.
Yeah.
I mean,
some would
that's
say
a
the
pretty
best prospect
serious,
they got.
pretty serious piece. So I think for me, that's going to be the calculus is with JD Martinez, he would be worth the qualifying offer. I think the Red Sox would be excited to have him back for 1 year. And then you have, ultimately that decision to make. So I don't think that they're in any way forcing themselves to move him. But if they get something that I think in their eyes is, more valuable than that compensation pick, then that's when they pull the trigger on a deal. But I think I would actually think that the chances of him moving are less likely in a way, because I think that they do want to commit themselves to this buy sell. And, even to entice, a free agent like Christian Vasquez to come back, as opposed to just telling everybody that they're just totally gutting everything.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to go with the full gutting. But if you don't think JD is like the most likely guy to get dealt next, then who would you think? Do you think it's Eovaldi or somebody else?
Well, I think Eovaldi, if they really are committing themselves to giving themselves even a smallest chance, I mean, their starting rotation I know Waka and Hill are right around the corner in coming back, but I mean Winkowski and Crawford and Bayo have kept them afloat, so it's going to be a long rest of the summer if they really end up dealing Eovaldi, and the price better be absolutely worth it. And I really think that they would have to get some major league innings back if they are going to deal Eovaldi.
Do you think they could buy someone?
I think it's absolutely possible that they could buy somebody. So I think what they would really be looking for would be a more controllable arm. So I think under the buy-sell model, maybe they acquire a number 4 type of starter who has at least a year and a half of control versus Eovaldi, who would be walking away at the end of the season. So that would be either for JD or Eovaldi. That would be an ideal type of return.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there's still a lot of possibilities. I actually agree with you on the JD part there. I think that he has a lot more value to the Red Sox than he does any other team, and it just seems unlikely for somebody to make an overpay for a DH. That's the doubles power is very much there. The home run power seems to have been sapped though. So what say you, Hogdale? Where are you at with this? Do you think there are more trades? And if so, what do you think is going to happen?
Oh, there's definitely going to be more trades. One of JD or Eovaldi is going to be gone. One of the two of them. And also, if Heim wanted to pull the 5-head big brain move, you trade both Eovaldi and JD, and then now you have extra prospects to buffer the system. Now you go make the last second push for Juan Soto, and then
I love it. I love it. I love that. Or you said that they said that they're not trading Shohei Ohtani. Just kidding. We got him.
Yeah, JK LOL. God, the fucking Angels are useless. Yeah, I don't think they really are, dude. I fucking hate their organization.
You have two of the best players in the world, and you still get last.
But yeah, Heim he likes to wheel and deal. I don't think he's done. We're going to see some more moves, and I'm very excited to see what it's going to be.
Yeah.
One guy that's been rumored is Jackie Bradley Jr. and the team he's been rumored with is Philadelphia, and if Heim can repeat the Heath Hembry for Nick Pivetta and Connor Siebold heist, that is definitely something that should absolutely happen, and I think it would really just be looking for the guys who are expiring deals. So it's Jackie Bradley, it's Rich Hill, Michael Wacha, so it definitely some incredible possibilities to see, and really getting some more control.
Yeah, definitely getting more control for this stuff is pretty important right now with all of these. It's going to be a completely different looking team, even come January 1st, 2023, and even after tomorrow, probably. So, those are the trades so far. For, by the time people are listening to this, there might be a few more. I assume that the next the Wednesday cast, or there'll be another one before that. But we're going to get to a few questions. We've got one from I think this is your boss actually, Ben. Some from Scott Green. Now we talked about Sadon, but let's talk about Brandon Walter. Is he the real deal?
It's an interesting thing I've been thinking about with the system. So I think with the Rays' influence, the goalpost on pitching in terms of producing that mid-rotation horse that goes over 180 innings, it's actually not even really the goal anymore. Is this a guy who's in some fashion going to give you multiple innings of maybe it's a couple times a week, maybe it's in the rotation, maybe it's in a key spot in a close game, and Brandon Walter absolutely profiles that way. And he, the biggest question for him is his health right now. So, and it's, from everything that we know or understand, is it's not an arm injury, it's a neck injury, which is, you need your neck to do everything on a baseball field, but at the very least, hopefully that can get squared away. And at the beginning of the season, I called him a dark horse to contribute to the bullpen. Obviously the injury has kind of delayed that, but the fastball slider is going to get outs at the big league level, and I think he can turn the lineup over. So I think he's really among the arms that haven't appeared in the major leagues yet. I think he's at the top of the list.
Yeah, The stat that always I look at for pitchers more than anything else is just control. Do you walk guys or not? And if you don't walk a lot of guys, I'm a lot more comfortable than somebody who maybe has a lot of strikeouts, but also has as many walks or more. And Walter, I mean, I just remember looking at some of his numbers. And it was like at one point, it was like, I think it was like 1 walk, 45 strikeouts, something ridiculous like that. Now he doesn't have, his fastball isn't that, he doesn't have that much velocity. I think it's like 92, 93, but he's got, we talked to Colt Cottom a few months ago, and he was like fresh off of spring training and like throwing with guys like Eovaldi and, guys in the pitching staff. And he said that still said that even compared to them, the best pitch he's seen anybody throw is Brandon Walter's slider. And that, to me, speaks volumes. And you just look at the success that he's had. Could you see him maybe being like a left-handed Garrett Whitlock type role?
Yeah, I think he definitely could be. And the guy who actually I think about with Brandon Walter is old friend Jeffrey Springs. And I know Jeffrey Springs did not, really show that his full potential with the Red Sox, but he right now on the Rays is a very valuable starting pitcher, and he's been absolutely mowing it down in Tampa Bay, and he's 29 and he's finally hit his peak, and that's ultimately that's what you're looking for. And so I think, in the foreseeable future, also considering health in a similar way to Garrett Whitlock, that absolutely, he could definitely have that role, for the next, foreseeable future. And, with the hope that, once he builds towards, turning the lineup over multiple times, that then he could move into the rotation.
It would be pretty cool to get that from him. And again, guy who works quick, throws strikes. That's fun baseball. That makes for very watchable baseball. I do worry, just like his injury was. Maybe this has gotten exaggerated, but I heard he just kind of slept funny, and he got like a neck spasm from that, and it just hasn't. Just a weird pillow or something, and he just hasn't. He's been out since like June. So that always is something that makes.
What reliance on my pillow does to a man.
Should have gone with the old Tempur-Pedic,
Yeah, man. It's absolutely rough.
Jordan's Furniture, go help these guys. You're always using them for their advertising, but where are you when they need you most? So the other question that Scott asked is Jay Groom going to be anything more than a potential high leverage bullpen guy? And I'm going to start answering that, and I'm going to say no, because I don't think he's even going to be a high leverage bullpen guy. I think he's a number 5 starter. That's sort of maybe a bulk guy, but the guy's fastball doesn't really do much for me. He did an okay job at AA. He's done an okay job since he got called up to AAA, and he's got a 40-man roster spot, so that's important. He might get a shot to pitch this year just because of that. But I just don't see his stuff playing for high leverage roles. That's my take there. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, I think it's similar. Jay Groom is always going to have intrigue because he was the 12th overall pick. He has the pedigree. So I see that he's going to have, interest by, on some level, among all 30 teams. And I think he's going to be a name that kind of kicks around, whether it's with the Red Sox or elsewhere. The guy I think of with Jay Groom is Drew Pomerantz. Drew Pomerantz, once he was, fully committed to being a reliever, this was another, top pick, the curveball is the lead pitch. His career really took off when he became a reliever. So we don't necessarily know, how much Jay Groom stuff would tick up in the bullpen. But it would have to, in order for him, I think, to be a major league pitcher, and I think impact, a major league roster.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment there. Do you? Because I don't know how much you followed Jake Groom's career path, Hogdale.
Honestly, not as much as I should. I'm really not as dialed in as into the Sox prospect system as I should be. Like, I know the baseline level stuff. I get all my information from you or Sox prospects.
Gosh, can I start referring to myself as official minor league source of Hogdale?
Yes,
Can I please start doing that?
of course.
There has to be a bumper sticker there for sure.
I want a Hogdale T-shirt, honestly, because we have like a merchandise store where it's just like random like pesky report stuff. But I just want a shirt with Hogdale's face on it. I would wear that all like I'm not even kidding about this. I would wear that all the time. I've talked to Brandon about this, and I don't know why he hasn't made it yet, but
It'd be funny.
Yeah. And I mean, so his dad came on just like kind of randomly yesterday, and I started referring to him as Hog Dad, and I think I wouldn't mind a Hog Dad shirt. I think that would also be pretty solid.
He appeared for about 0.5 seconds. It was funny.
Number one cameo, Hog Dad. So we've got one more fan question. This is from Agua Suecia. I am probably pronouncing that wrong on Twitter. The handle is at Agua. How will impending roster crunch impact decisions, trade, etc., i.e. significant number of legit prospects will require Rule 5 protection this year? Any prospect acquisition should really focus on quality versus quantity, in my opinion. So you alluded to this a little bit before, Ben, and we've talked a little bit about it, but I think that's something that we can go into a little more detail with, just as far as the prospects that are on that 40-man bubble that we alluded to. Besides Cole Cottom, besides Steven Scott, who are some names we should look at as maybe people that could get dealt that are from that group?
Well, for me, I kind of think about it in terms of positional categories, right? So you have sort of the group of utility infielders, which would be, Ryan Fitzgerald, Christian Koss, David Hamilton, and Nick Sogard. All four guys, they're in the high minors. I know, Ed, I know you like Nick Sogard. I do too. I think the benefit of, the added benefit of Nick Sogard is that he can play outfield.
Yeah.
And, and so I think absolutely, you can't keep all of those guys. There's a good chance that, all of those guys, could latch on and have a big league utility role on some fashion. So I think, some of the other decisions are going to come from some of the high minors pitching. I think a lot of these guys are the safest to stay with the organization and not be dealt. So that's Brandon Walter. It's Chris Murphy. It's Thad Ward and Frank Herman. So I think, that group of guys, I think is, really has to be, potentially sort of the next wave, to support the big league roster. So
I think there's a chance we see some of those guys get called up too, like Herman, someone like Zach Kelly, who's a little bit older, but has done a good job at AAA this year. So guys like that, I think it's different with like Ward because he's rehabbing. I think he's almost guaranteed to get a 40-man. Walter's hurt, obviously, but I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, and I think the other place that they're going to have to really think about is, some of the high upside prospects that they have who, one organization may just stick on their roster for the year. What do you do with Wilcom and Gonzalez in a Rule 5 decision? The Houston, the Marlins picked Eliezer Hernandez, who had such little he didn't have any major league experience. He was all upside. And, he's, Gonzalez the numbers are not reflective of the talent, just in terms of some of the ratios. But Gonzalez has been, clearly showing that he can miss a lot of bats, and, he's really, really exciting. So, would a team take a chance on a player like that? Similarly, Edinson Paulino, Brainer Benassi. I mean, these are also guys that, are absolutely players you want to keep in this system. But, so there's also a group of players that, you may just have to, cross your fingers and hope that, a team isn't going to jump on them in the similar way that, Jonathan Arauz was picked, by Bloom himself, from the Astros, as a pure prospect, at the AA level at the time.
But the thing is, and this is where a guy like I just find it very unlikely. And I remember people were talking about Gilberto Jimenez this way last year. Oh, somebody might take him, and they just hold on to him. But you have to put the guy. It's not just the 40 man. He has to be on the 26 man for the entire season. So that's a roster spot that could go to someone else. Are you okay having a reliever that's just going to be used for mop up? Are you okay having an outfielder that you really can't play because he can't hit major league pitching yet? I see someone as Sogard actually being a guy that I could really conceivably see, because as you mentioned, the versatility, and he also draws walks and steals bases. So that's somebody that worst case scenario, he's that bench guy that you bring in to pinch run towards the end of the game, or if somebody's hurt, and you're in a bind, you can have him go there. I see that as being a little more likely than somebody that you have to kind of find a way to hold on to for a full season. But it's you never know. You never know how much one team really just covets this guy and they're willing to make that sacrifice. Also, I just think about like you mentioned Arauz and he had barely played AA when the Red Sox got him, but that was 2020. So you can keep a guy around for 60 games when no one cares. Might be tougher for a full season though. But yeah, no, it's a good. Those are all really good questions. So thanks to everybody that came in with that. We're at about an hour now, so I think probably gonna peace out soon. But Ben, thank you again so much for joining us today. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, so thanks again so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun, and it's gonna be some more wild trades happening, I think, for sure, coming our way. And we timed this really well, so that was fun. You all can find me on Twitter. My handle is at TBDubs11, which is TBDUBBS11. And I also will put out work on Prospects1500 too.
Yep. And Ben's as good as it gets in the business with this stuff. He really knows his shit. So it's a good follow if honestly. I'm not. I say this about a lot of people, but I really have been wanting to get Ben on the show for a while. So this is pretty exciting for me. Hogdale, you got anything else to add for today?
Only that I'm tired of the Atlanta Braves being able to lock up their young talent to these fucking absurd contracts. Dude. I'm so tired of it.
Yeah,
that's Austin Riley, 10 years, $211 million, $21 million a year AAV. What are these guys' fucking negotiation tactics? I want to know.
There's nothing that says team-friendly contract like the Atlanta Braves. They're wizards down there.
Hopefully this gets Raffy's fucking number down a bit, but fuck me. That's insane.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that because he's not a bad fielder, right?
No, he's a positive defender.
Yeah, that's just a team-friendly deal. It really does, because I was thinking that Raffy was going to be getting close to $400 million, and this, I have no idea now. I have no idea what he's.
Yeah, I was going to say because wins above replacement wise, him and Riley and Raffy are having very, very similar years in terms of just value. Austin Riley's a dark horse MVP candidate in the National League right now.
Yeah.
So I'm tired of the fucking Braves, dude. I'm just so tired of them. That Ozzy Albies contract, highway robbery, that Acuna contract, highway robbery, and now this.
Yeah. No, it's really something how they've managed to get even Matt Olson getting that deal with him, that Gold Glove with potential, maybe not Freddie Freeman, but not that far away either. And on that note, we will be seeing you guys next time. Thank you. Probably we might even have another one tomorrow. I don't know what the plan for the schedule is, but we'll be seeing you. So thank you again so much, guys. See you next time.
Welcome to the Pesky Report, a podcast. Thanks for watching. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Pesky Report. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.